For 30 years, audio processors have improved the sound of FM radios and increased their range. But in the last 5 years, progress has stopped because the limitation is no longer the technology, but the human ear. That's why we created the 542 processor that incorporates new ideas that go far beyond achieving excellent sound. Today's problems are different from those of yesterday. Today, the question is, how can I increase my audience? And which audio processor will I buy to accompany me for 20 years without having to change it? Let's start by comparing the sound of the high-end processors offered by the international market. We will listen to 2 samples recorded from the air with an FM receiver. The first corresponds to a large radio station with an audience of 5 million listeners, equipped with a $12,000 processor. The second demo was processed with our processor. Our ears and laboratory measurements tell us that both processors display high-quality sound. It's like comparing a Guarneri's violin with a Stradivarius. Each has its own personality, but the sound is perfect with both. Now, let's listen to another leading station in the same city that transmits with an even more expensive American processor. The second demo was processed with our processor. We perceive the same as in the previous test. The proclaimed superiority of the most expensive equipment cannot be measured, and our ears cannot hear it. With advertising, its manufacturers are trying to keep alive certain myths and legends. The measured loudness was the same in the 3 processors, and therefore the increase in the range of the radio is also the same. We see that our new technology produces a sound that equals or exceeds processors that have a price that is 4 times higher. And the processing is achieved with less than 10 milliseconds of delay. Announcers and hosts will be happy to listen to their voices on air without the annoying echo that other processors generate. And its internal software is updated free for many years via internet without leaving the air, permitting the chance to always have the latest model. Now, you may wonder, would it be cheaper to use a software processor installed on a computer? We will see that this is not the case. The Solidyne processor has 100 times more stereo separation than software running on a PC, which is restricted by the limitations of the audio cards to operate in a stereo multiplex. With the 542, you do not need to have an exclusive computer located next to the transmitter. Our processor has no risk of a software stop that could leave your radio off the air. Our processor is more economical than a server-quality computer with a costly audio card, and it consumes 10 times less energy. We then discard the computer option. We now have the final question. What does a radio need nowadays to compete and increase its audience? We know that today there is a lot of congestion between radios on the FM spectrum, with increasingly close and overlapping frequencies. This makes your radio lose audience. To solve this problem, the 542 is the only processor that offers automatic switching to a monaural transmission mode during news programs. Remember that the human voice is a mono sound because of the way it's generated. To understand this great improvement, let's listen to a stereo FM transmission at the distance limit in which the listener abandons your radio station because of interference. The transmission will switch between stereo and mono during this demo.
Amigos, hoy quiero hablarles de nuestra obsesión por la calidad del producto y por los detalles. No solamente ofrecemos la mejor tecnología digital, sino que nuestros productos son robustos y confiables. Esta preocupación nos ha llevado a analizar hasta los detalles más pequeños de nuestros embalajes y no dudamos en destruir con...
Working in mono eliminates interference and puts us at an advantage over stereo transmissions, concentrating energy in a narrow band and increasing the coverage area, which is equivalent to multiplying the power of the transmitter by 4. The switching is done automatically, without the listener perceiving it. So far, the advantages of our processors seem to be clear: having the best sound quality with greater coverage while saving money over many years. But there is another advantage. It will no longer be necessary to invest in hiring an engineer for the installation and technical measurements of the radio, because it is the world's only processor that includes an internal FM modulation analyzer that works in sync with the audio signal and is operated remotely via internet. That's why we can offer you free service to remotely access the processor installed on your radio. We will leave it perfectly adjusted according to international standards, obtaining the best sound and reach. This may seem like magic, but it's just another definitive advantage of this processor, a technological revolution in audio processing.